All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining today's Using AI to Improve Customer Support webinar. We're excited to have you. Before kicking off, I will just go through some webinar best practices so you are all set up for the session. First and foremost, as you may have noticed, all of you will be muted and off of camera. Secondly, the session is being recorded and will be shared with you after. Please add any Q&A questions to the Q&A tab. Please note that the presenter may answer the question in the Q&A tab, or we will have a live Q&A session at the end. So feel free to add your questions in the tab or hold on to them till after the session. Talon will be present for you guys to ask live. And then lastly, for any non-question related inquiries, please use the chat feature. That's anything non-question related, conversation topics. Just feel free to interact with us or other participants through the chat feature. With that said, I'll just do a quick introduction to today's presenter, who will be Talon Miller, a senior technical marketer at Redis, and we're very excited to have you. Next slide. Just to quickly cover the agenda, we've gone over the welcome, the best practices, and we've presented you with the introduction from Talon. Next, we will go into the tech talk. We will show you some additional resources after the tech talk, and then it will be time for the live Q&A. Now, before diving in, we have launched a poll. Let me just quickly get it out to you. If you could just take a minute to answer before we kick off.
Gives me a good idea of, where our attendees are at in regards to this stuff, and I can tailor some of my presentation today. So I appreciate your participation.
You should all see the poll up on your screens. Again, please take a minute or so to answer. It will just give us an idea of who you all are and how we can tailor the conversation and the questions at the end. Thanks again.
Cool. Yeah, like I said, if you're just joining, I appreciate you participating in the poll. Just helps me kind of tailor my presentation today, just see where our audience is at. Looks like we're pretty varied across the board on these answers, which is looking pretty cool. You can kind of take a specialized approach on a couple things here. Should we keep it up a little longer, or what do you think, Camilla?
I think that we are good to end it right now, Talon. With that said,
Awesome.
thanks all for joining and answering the poll. Over to you, Talon.
Awesome. Great. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. It looks like we have quite a few people who are currently piloting, which is actually pretty common. I talk to AWS about twice a week in regards to our integration with AWS for our SageMaker and Bedrock integrations. And they've also said publicly, I think, on their latest financial reports, they've been saying, hey, most of our customers are currently piloting. There aren't a lot of people in production at the moment. And I'm actually going to be covering that a little bit in our presentation today on, why, there's certainly some challenges for people who are trying to get from the piloting stage into the production stage. And then it looks like a lot of you are certainly looking into chatbots, and yeah, a couple, and everyone else answered a little bit on the rest, but most of our audience today is interested in chatbot, which is pretty typical for our audience today for customer support. And then caching, of course, is our most responded to for use case today. But we do have quite a few people using it for session, vector, RAG, LLM, and document storage, which is great. We'll talk about that today too. Awesome. So with that, let's get into today's tech talk. I figured I might give you a little bit of background to myself because I think it's pertinent to our conversation today. So I do technical marketing at Redis. I own all of the enterprise storytelling for Redis. So any of our paid products, from cloud to software on-prem to Kubernetes. I kind of have my hands in all of that, which has been really fun. Before Redis, I did implementation or professional services at Domo, which is a business intelligence platform. And I also, and I think this part is more pertinent to our conversation today, which is before I did professional services, I was an enterprise TAM or technical account manager at Domo. I owned millions of dollars worth of contracts at Domo. So I had some of the biggest, name brands you can think of. Um, you know, Plenty of top 10 Fortune 500 companies that I had essentially attached to me. So, a lot of pressure, a lot of support required. Um, you know, Office hours, tickets, on-site meetings, a lot of things in that regard. So, although I'm a technical marketer now, for those who are on the call today who are in the customer service or customer experience realm, certainly been there. Certainly understand the challenges and the opportunity there as well. I stood up a um, a customer support packaging program at Domo, from people name it all sorts of ways. Ours was like from bronze to diamond, right? And I took that to EMEA or our London and Europe offices. So yeah, plenty of experience there as well. So with that being said, I'm very familiar with what's required there, plus the technology that Redis has and the AI hype with LLMs and RAG and everything else. So I feel like we could have a very good conversation today. Feel free to add questions to the chat as we're kind of going through the presentation today. But of course, as Camilo mentioned, we're going to have a live Q&A at the end. So with the presentation today, we're going to do something a little different. Instead of just going through slides and me saying ums and uhs a lot, I've actually prepared something a little bit more tailored. So I've actually prepared a video. So we're going to watch the video together. It's going to go through all of the main presenting points today. It's only about 13 minutes long. And then we'll reconvene after the video. So feel free to, ask me questions because I'll instead of me being busy talking and going through the presentation, I'll be watching along with you. So feel free to shoot me questions while we're going through. That being said, we'll go ahead and play the video and I'll see you afterwards. Welcome to another Redis webinar. My name is Talon Miller and I am a senior technical PMM here at Redis. We have a lot to cover today, so let's get right into the agenda. First, we'll lay some groundwork for what customer service organizations care about and the challenges they face. Then we'll cover what an LLM is and the challenges we're seeing LLMs are having in production. We'll then dive into multiple AI and Redis-powered solutions from a chatbot to document retrieval and semantic search. And then we'll finish with why Redis. If that sounds good, then settle in and let's dive in. Let's get into what customer service organizations care about and the challenges they face. I'm sure I am preaching to the choir on this one, so let us know in the chat or comments which one of these resonates with you or if I missed one. First, there are several SLAs or service level agreements between these customer service organizations and their customers that they need to hit. These could be anything from wait times on calls to days or even hours that a ticket should be resolved. Being available 24/7, 365 days a year, or being available in multiple regions and multiple languages is a goalpost or challenge for some organizations, definitely for global ones. Scalability. So as a business grows, so does the volume of customer interactions and inquiries. Scaling customer service teams to meet this demand can be costly and time-consuming to say the least. So consistency. So I'm sure that this affects most of you watching today, and that is ramping up agents to company policies, SLAs, systems, and product knowledge. It can be a pretty lengthy time before agents are performing well and providing reliable assistance every time. So let's talk LLMs, or large language models. I'm sure you are aware of what they are by now, but let's bring foundational models to compare the two. First, foundation models, this is our traditional data science model where we are using text, images, and audio to predict something and output a specific result, usually a prediction of some kind. LLMs, on the other hand, for example, GPT, LangChain, Llama, and a bunch of other LLMs are coming out on what seems like a daily basis. These are trained on massive text sources from all across the web.
They are useful for semantic search, generation, summarization, extraction, and many, many other use cases. From my personal experience, what I find interesting is the input of data between these two types of models. LLMs trained on these massive text sources, which are usually unstructured. Well, 5 to 10 years ago, when we primarily used foundation models, this would have been a crazy concept. There used to be a saying, and I'm sure it's still valid today, which is bad data in, bad data out. But with these new LLMs, they do a great job with this unstructured data and using the most relevant and accurate data. But it isn't always perfect, as I'm sure you've experienced firsthand. Great segue into challenges we're seeing businesses are having with LLMs in production. So naturally, businesses are not staying on the sidelines for this AI hype, but most are running into challenges. First, and perhaps an obvious one, costs. Whether you are self-hosting or fine-tuning a model on top of an existing LLM model, it can cost a lot of money because of the immense amount of compute required. Then there are quality issues, which are a little humorous, when simply using ChatGPT or an image generator, but it's not funny at all when it is used for critical use cases. LLMs can be known to be too broad because most people start off using non-domain specific data, meaning not your own data. Generalized data that is probably 2 years old at least, which to some business use cases is completely out of date and useless. These inaccurate outputs from LLMs are what we call hallucinations. Performance is another challenge. LLMs are known to be slow, and we all know that that just isn't acceptable nowadays, where latency is the new downtime. This is especially true in customer support, where customers needing help aren't going to be happy waiting 30 seconds plus for an answer from a chatbot. Security is a real concern because of potential leaks of sensitive data, and because of that, there is a big need for a lot of governance, which takes a lot of time and effort. Lastly, what I like to call the shiny object syndrome, which keeps a lot of businesses on the sidelines. There is just a ton of noise right now, incredible innovation, but so much so that it's getting hard to tell what's what, who's who you can trust, and who you can rely on to ultimately solve your problems and elevate your business. So what do we do about these challenges? Well, vector databases emerged precisely because of the lack of effective solutions to the challenges we just spoke about. There were attempts at fine-tuning, but that just increased LLM infrastructure costs and led to security issues for sensitive data. There was also a brute force approach where organizations would just feed an LLM all of their data, all of their docs, etc. But this is also expensive because of API and token costs. Enter vector databases. It's simple. We take your data sources and put that data into format machines understand, work with, and search across so applications can interface with it. Let's go over a simple example before we dive into our AI-driven use cases. This is a good example of a frequently asked question, like, what does my machine error code 5UD mean? Instead of burdening the LLM with this question every time it's asked, Redis serves as a semantic caching layer that can instantly return the results if they already exist, cutting down latency and cost dramatically. We can prefetch and store topics, generalized questions, and scenarios with predefined answers. The user input or inquiry comes in and is matched with its relevant vector index before talking to the LLM, improving the security and reliability of the interactions by keeping the conversations focused and relevant. So with that basic knowledge, let's jump into how we can apply this innovative technology to our customer service use cases. Let's talk chatbots. Instead of using the web's entire data that isn't relevant to your business, pair an LLM chatbot with Redis as a vector database to use your data to provide higher quality answers. Also, implementing an AI-powered chatbot does two essential things for customer support businesses. First, it enables 24/7 availability for customers. Second, it reduces response times. Both of these things, as you know, provide an immense amount of benefits like increased brand loyalty, easier upsells, easier renewals, etc. Now let's chat about scalability. As I mentioned before, as your business grows, so does your volume of customer inquiries. Scaling customer service teams to meet this never-ending demand is costly and time-consuming. You can use an LLM to handle the high volume of inquiries without the need for hiring and training additional staff. This ensures that customer service scalability remains efficient and cost-effective. But you may be wondering, sounds great, but how? Well, let's return to the concept of using Redis as a vector database paired with an LLM as a perfect match for three things I mentioned earlier. Prefetch and store topics, generalized questions, and scenarios with predefined answers. Those three things are very prevalent in the support world. Customer inquiries a lot of the time have been answered time and time again because there is a specific answer. This allows customer support organizations to offload these types of questions and scenarios to AI. Next, multilingual support. This is pretty straightforward. AI has made incredible advancements in being able to do translations to and from different languages. Add Redis as the backend vector database, and now you have a real-time translation. Businesses that are global or want to go global, and businesses that need multiple languages even in the same region, but have constraints of hiring a global and multilingual team is a perfect scenario for this AI-powered solution. This next solution isn't one that people think of right away when thinking about AI. Those in customer success or support organizations or even sales and marketing are familiar with CRM systems. So if you're intimately familiar with CRMs and you use them, listen up. They can be very complex because of the amount of data in them, the amount of configuration and maintenance on these platforms, and usually they're inaccurate in some organizations till someone comes in and does a huge cleanup, right? A cool thing that you can do with these CRMs is integrate with LLMs to automate some tasks, like getting real-time sentiment analysis. Now, of course, there are quite a few tools out there that already grab a phone call script and derive sentiment analysis to let the business know if that call is positive, negative, or neutral. But with LLMs, you can integrate with CRMs to do so much more, like analyzing data in the CRM that is pertinent to you and then making recommendations. Speaking of recommendations, another AI-powered solution is building recommendation systems to improve the customer experience. You may be thinking, wait, aren't recommendation systems for things like recommending a product online or a TV show you should watch next? Well, recommendation systems can be very effective in customer service organizations as well. Imagine your customer comes to your website or docs to find an answer. The recommendation system can analyze the docs they've viewed and the questions they've asked in the search box and recommend other docs that meet their requirements. Or they can recommend a paid lab, workshop, or training module. Pretty sweet, right? Next and last of the AI-powered solutions we'll be covering today are document retrieval and semantic search. So what does that mean? I can imagine that most of you have a lot of documentation or pages about your product that is there to support your customers and customer support agents. With an LLM and a Redis-backed vector database, you can store these documents and data and have them more accurately found in real time. I'm sure that all of us can think of times when we're searching for a specific answer through docs, but it's hard to find. LLMs can summarize documents and then intelligently recommend them based on questions being asked. Semantic search is a little bit different. Semantic means relating to the meaning in language. So relating to, meaning that we all have different ways to ask the same question. You could have the same question asked 15 different ways. That can make it a bit tricky for systems to find the right answer every time. With semantic search, Redis can find the related language to the question and find the same answer every time. As I've pointed out before, this is very common in the customer support world where you have commonly asked questions. Well, that was a quick look into the art of the possible with AI-powered solutions, but why Redis? If you're from the customer support or customer success world, you may not be familiar with Redis. But believe it or not, Redis is a household name in the developer world. We're a trusted brand, a database here to stay, and is relied on for enterprise production solutions across every industry. Redis is already deeply integrated with monitoring, provisioning, and security technologies, and the existing AI ecosystem like LangChain, Relevance AI, and NVIDIA. I'm sure if you ask your developers at your business about Redis, they'll know exactly what it is, but we do a lot more than just caching. They may be surprised to hear that we have a data structure store for vector, a data type pivotal for integrating with these LLMs. Redis has robust client libraries that make developers enjoy using our product. Plus, you may hear from your developers that you're already using Redis in some capacity at your business. So it's much easier for companies just to extend Redis to another use case, like customer support solutions, instead of acquiring a whole other solution in your tech stack. Redis Enterprise is our paid version of Redis that contains many important capabilities that the open source or community edition doesn't have. Important capabilities that customer support organizations care about, like having the highest amount of uptime available, high performance for throughput, geo distribution to give your customers real-time responsiveness anywhere in the world, and the ability to do much more with less with multi-tenancy and multiple deployment options. In summary, AI is revolutionizing just about every industry out there. Customer service organizations are lucky enough to have quite a few proven solutions out there already. The fact is that AI-powered solutions allow customer support organizations to do more with less and provide a better experience. Redis is a proven leader in this space and has been helping customers for nearly a decade. We have quite a few more webinars coming down the road regarding using the AI ecosystem to your advantage. Check those out, and with that, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you in the next one.
Awesome. Yeah, great. Hopefully you enjoyed the video format. I figured I'd try something a little bit different today instead of slides. I know slides have their benefit too, but let me kind of get to the next slide here. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that format. If you did, let me know. If not, also let me know. Just trying to change it up for us a little bit. So we do have another poll. Let us know if you want to talk to one of our experts in regards to your scenario specifically and see how we can help. And also, yeah, please feel free to rate the session. Obviously, we're not done quite yet. I'm happy to jump into any questions that you have. I know that some things we breezed over a little bit. I'd be happy to dive into anything that's top of mind for you. And with that, we'll probably keep the poll open, but I'll move the slide over to our next screen, which is a couple different learning things that if you want to dive a little deeper, and grab your phone, and we've got some QR codes for you for our vector database data sheet, and also a quick link to try Redis for free, which is really great. Actually, we've done quite a few different things lately to our cloud free tier, increase functionality and also size. So if you haven't tried Redis Cloud out yet, go try it out. With that, all right, Q&A. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to dive deeper into anything we've discussed today, or anything in regards to Redis as a vector database, or anything Redis related. It doesn't have to necessarily be customer service forward, but happy to answer any questions. And since I don't have any questions quite yet, I do want to elaborate on one thing. So something that Redis Enterprise has is the 5 nines of high availability. So it's 99.99% up in high availability. And for those who aren't familiar with that kind of cloud space, it's a huge deal. There's no other offering on the entire market that offers 5 nines of high availability. And the difference is pretty striking. So 5 nines of high availability gets you around 24 seconds of downtime per month, whereas 4 nines of high availability gives you about 1 hour of downtime per month. So at the end of the year, you think about critical use cases like banking, fraud transactions, or even e-commerce where they lose tons of money if there's a little bit of downtime. It's a big differentiator for us. So I just wanted to elaborate on that if that didn't make more sense. But it looks like we do have a couple more questions. So does Redis open source have vector store included, or is it enterprise version only? It is only in our paid offering. So does Redis provide an end-to-end solution, which includes vector database, LLM chatbot hosting, and LLM? So yeah, we have. So what I'd say is we have enterprise Redis for the vector store, right? But then our integrations with like LangChain, Llama, and others will allow you to set up that connection to already existing chatbot hosting. If you go to, like, for example, OpenAI, they've got amazing starting places for people to build a chatbot in like seriously less than an hour. If you're familiar with setting up any sort of infrastructure and applications, it's super easy because they have kind of like the step 1 to 15 where you can grab code and set up a chatbot, and like seriously, like pretty quick. And when you get to that point, there's maybe step 8 to 10 or something. There's going to be pointed to a store of some sort, right? Whether that's Pinecone or Redis, and that's where you're going to point your store, and then you're up and running. Of course, you have to think about what data you need to feed it, whether you're going to use the non-domain data, which of course is like 2 years old-ish plus. I'm sure that some of us are familiar with chatting with ChatGPT and seeing some of our answers of like, oh, well, our latest data is from, 2022, which isn't super helpful in some use cases. Yeah, there you go. Hopefully that helps answer your question. And then I do have another question. Let's see. In regard to getting started, there's a couple of things. We do have some documentation on our docs page. I think that's probably the best place. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's just, I feel like a lot of people don't even realize that vector embeddings or a vector store was possible with Redis. I was just on a call with AWS 2 weeks ago, and their DevRel team had no idea. And they were super excited because, look, developers love Redis because it's simple, it's easy to use, and it just works. And the fact that you can extend it to vectors is awesome, especially with the current AI hype. But with that, there aren't any more questions. Feel free to reach out to me through LinkedIn, and I can certainly elaborate on any other questions. I'm on there pretty frequently helping people. So and yeah, I also do a monthly LinkedIn live presentation too. So you can always hop on there and ask me questions too. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the session, and hope you join some of our later sessions too. Have a good day, everybody.